What's up, everybody? Welcome back to my suburban garden in Zone 7A. My name is Z, and I wanted to give you the rest of the garden tour. So let's start with this jungle right here that happens to have a chair in the midst of it. So all of these plants, technically there's 7. I had only started 6 seeds. These are all ground cherries. So we have the pineapple ground cherry and we have the Aunt Molly's, and one of them has 2 plants, and the reason is I had bought some ground cherries from Whole Foods, and I saved the seeds and sprinkled them into another container just for fun and giggles. And they actually, after like an eternity, decided that they wanted to sprout. And in the midst of all of that, one of the seeds that I had started was looking absolutely pitiful, and it was on its last legs. So I had taken one of the ground cherry seedlings that I just sort of threw in a container and transplanted it into the bag with the dying ground cherry that I had started from seed. And next thing you know, decided to come back to life. So now there's 2 of them in this bag. So one of them is a seed that I started, and one of them is a seed I started from a store-bought ground cherry. But things grew tremendously, and I planted them February 26th. The seeds are itty bitty, probably smaller than like a strawberry seed. But as you can see, once you get them going, they look pretty good. You can see some of the ground cherries there. So the thing about ground cherries is they're basically like the cousin of tomatillos. And when the fruit is ready, these little husks, see them? The little husks, they turn a yellowish color, and then the berry inside kind of turns yellowish too. Right now, both are green. And when they're ready to go, they just kind of plop to the ground. So that's kind of why I have this lovely handy dandy shower curtain on the ground. I actually used that for something else, and then once the ground cherries started getting crazy big, I just decided to the shower curtain underneath just to make collection easier of the ground cherries. So there's that. As you can see, they're looking nice and luscious. They're actually pretty tall. And I have these growing in 3-gallon grow bags. This is all an experiment, guys. I don't know what I'm doing. So I'm just learning as I grow. Haha, see what I did there? I'm not a professional, so I'm just kind of testing things out and seeing what works, seeing what doesn't. And that's really all you can do in a garden, you know? So here we have some okra, and there's a little itty bitty 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 seed. Because I had planted multiple seeds here. I don't know if you can see that right there. I planted multiple seeds and only one came up, so at the last second I said, let me throw one more seed in there. And that one's popping up, so we're doing pretty good. Then next door we have some bean plants. These are bush beans. There are actually 3 bean plants in this container, and there's 3 more in that container. So what I did, I planted 2 seeds each of 3 different varieties. So we have red beans, purple beans, and the dragon tongue bush beans. So I planted 1, 1, and 1 in here, and then I repeated that over there. So there's basically different varieties in each. And so far the red ones are the only ones to really produce yet. See that? I have 3 little red beans. So let's see if we can, there we go. See them? But we do have blossoms on other things too. So hopefully we'll get some production. Like I said, these are bush beans, but as you can see, this one is kind of trellising up the tomato cage, which, by the way, I don't really care for tomato cages, but they work really well for stuff like this and for peppers. But I would not use them for tomatoes, not unless it's a determinate. Here are the tomatoes we showed you the other day. All right, now we have peppers. As you can see, I got a bunch of peppers going on here. I'll go through them real quick. So this right here, there's 2 plants in there. There's 2 plants in there. Basically, all of them have 2 plants except for, I think that one has 3. These 2 right here, those are not jalapenos. So they're basically jalapenos without the heat. It's my first year growing them, so I really don't know what to expect. I'm expecting not so spicy jalapeno. So there's that. Right here, this friend, there's 2 red hot chili peppers in there. Actually, these plants are grown from seeds that I saved last year. And yeah, they're doing pretty good. What I ended up doing with them last year is, ooh, something's buzzing behind me. Why is that so terrifying? What was I saying? See, now I lost my train of thought. Okay, so what I ended up doing with these plants is I took the peppers, I dried them, and then I grinded them all up in like a food processor and made chili flakes. And I still have chili flakes from last year, so that's why I only planted 2 plants. Well, technically 3, but don't tell anyone. I'll tell you what happened in a little bit. But yeah, so that's what those are for. These 2 bags each have 2 cayenne peppers in them. And again, just like with the red hots over here, my plan for these plants, and I have some, like a second wave growing right now, my plan is to dry them and have cayenne powder for the whole year. So, and as you can see, we do have some peppers. Come on. There we go. So I'm just gonna let these, there's some sunlight. I'm gonna let them completely mature, then I'm gonna dehydrate them and then turn them into powder. So that's kind of the goal with these. All right, in the next row we have a bunch of jalapenos. So this bag, that one, all of these green ones, with the exception of the last one, they're all jalapenos. This is the only bag that has 3 jalapenos in it. You can see that one is itty bitty. That's because I just planted it not too long ago. They're doing pretty good. A few blossoms on here. There's some blossoms, so we're getting somewhere. These are green jalapenos. Technically all jalapenos are green, but I mean, when they ripe to red. But I intend to use these as green jalapenos. So then next door we have some yellow jalapenos. So these will ripen to yellow. I'll have to insert the name of the exact variety because I can't remember right now off the top of my head. But all of these came from the same place. All of these jalapenos. So we have yellow here. These are more of an orange variety. And these are meant to be red. So these are like a red variety. Then next door we have 2 habanada plants. Habanadas are basically habanero peppers, but without the heat. Kind of in the same vein as the nadapinos right here. So it's kind of the same concept. Again, never grew these, wanted to try them. Jalapenos I've grown before, had no problem with them. We'll see how these taste. There's no blossoms on these yet. I think they still need a little time before they really get going. That bag is empty. These 2 bags are empty and waiting for round 2 of something, probably peppers. Now this little grouping here, these are eggplants. All of these are eggplants. So there's 2 in each bag. These are 5-gallon grow bags. The peppers are also in 5-gallon grow bags. I didn't have any problem growing them like that last year, so I'm just kind of repeating history. So yeah, these are the eggplants. They're little finger eggplants. They're doing pretty good. No blossoms or anything yet. I think it's still too early for that. Here's another 2. Here's another 2. So just like the ground cherries I was talking about earlier, kind of had the same situation here, sort of. So I planted all of these at the same time. Again, all of these seeds were started February 26th. This little plant right here decided it wanted to completely die. So I just left it in there. I said, you know what, let me just see what happens. I can always start another seed. Also, I'm not like desperate to have a huge amount of eggplant, so it's not that serious. But I said, let me just see what happens. And sure enough, it survived. I don't know how, because when I tell you this thing was dead, it was flopped on the ground, completely limp. And now she's growing. So hey, more power to you. I'm very proud of you, little seedling. And here we have some more. I do want to get some more of these cages, but just haven't gotten around to it. Then over here, We have a mess, and we also have some variegated peppers. There's two little itty bitty, these are ornamentals. That's my understanding at least. Beautiful, beautiful variegated leaves. Absolutely stunning. There's two plants in here. These are jigsaw peppers. So the peppers are teeny tiny. I'm sure you can tell by the size of the plant that, I mean, that's my hand. They're not meant to be humongous. And I have two more in here. These two here are also jigsaws, and you can see we have a little purple blossom in there. So these are kind of like colorful peppers. Look at that, beautiful. I intended to put 3 plants in. I thought I had 5. Turns out I actually had 3 red hot peppers. So I put this in there thinking that it was also a jigsaw. Turns out I was wrong. Really, really wrong. And it wasn't until I saw this that I was like, uh-oh, I know what that is. That's a red hot. So we have that going on. Okay, every gardener, or at least a good amount of gardeners, will have some kind of shameful plant situation in their garden, and this is mine. There's a lot going on here. So remember how I said I threw some ground cherry seeds into a container that I got from store-bought ground cherries? Well, they were in here. I threw them in here. You can still see there's a couple left in there. This was a long time ago, but I ended up growing rutabagas. I threw those in here. There were 5 of them. Meanwhile, I had a bunch of root vegetables in here, so basically radishes and beets that I had in here. And the other day I went on a rampage ripping everything out except for those few. There's a reason for that. So I had ripped those out, and on my ripping out rampage, I ripped those 2 plants out because like I said, I'm a new gardener and I wasn't thinking. I was just on a rampage. And I was thinking to myself, like, okay, these have been in the ground for an eternity and there's no bulb forming. I moved the soil and I was like, there's no bulb forming. So what's going on here? I guess I just got to rip them out and start again. So I did a whoopsie daisy, and basically after I had ripped 2 out, I was like, oh snap, I know what you're doing here, plant. So the root obviously is in the ground, but the delicious bulb to harvest grows above the ground. Probably because it just grew tall and isn't flush with the soil, but whatever. So in a panic, I shoved those back in there, hoping that they would, I mean, they shocked obviously because they're all droopy, but they haven't died yet. So I'm gonna water this again and see what happens. So at this point, it's an experiment. I still have 3 that I didn't touch, and then those 2 that we're hoping will resurrect themselves. I don't know. I don't have high hopes, but it's fine. It is what it is. It's all about learning. You're gonna make mistakes. It's fine. All right, then we have this jungle. This was a bunch of different lettuces and a little bit of spinach. And as you can see, it's a complete hot mess. Why? I will tell you why. So what had happened was I planted these seeds. Basically, I just sprinkled a bunch of seeds in a row, right? I wasn't looking to make a head lettuce. I just wanted leaves. So I made rows. You can kind of see the color stripes a little bit, even though it's kind of a hot mess right now. And then because of Zone 7A, as I'm sure many of you are aware or are experiencing yourself, the cicadas came. And we're just now winding down with the cicadas. They've been out basically since second week of May in my area. And I was just too terrified to come out here to harvest, and they were getting in there. So I put the netting on, which didn't help. They somehow managed to find their way in there. And I kind of neglected this, and it became the jungle that it is today. So my plan is to rip all this out, refresh the dirt, and prepare it for a fall planting of lettuce. But this time what I'm going to do, instead of just kind of, for lack of a better word, broadcast the seeds everywhere. Oh, speaking of cicadas, hold on. See that? See that guy? Yeah, so they're still around. Um, so rather than plant them willy-nilly sort of, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start them and transplant them and be a little more deliberate. So the nice thing is I know that this method works when you just kind of sprinkle a bunch of seeds and grow them really close together. It definitely works. However, it's a little chaotic. Um, so what I'm going to do next time is just grow them as head lettuce and cut them that way. So I'm going to be a little more deliberate with what I do with this little kiddie pool of lettuce. But yeah, there's no eating them now. First of all, I'm sure there's dead cicadas in there. Second of all, there's weeds all over the place. And third, because it's the middle of summer, these are extremely bitter. I have tried bitter lettuce during the summer heat and it's not delicious. So these are all going to go. But I just wanted to show you those and tell you the story of my lettuce jungle that I have going on here. All right, I have another kiddie pool here. This one I have been using for root vegetables. As you can see, there's still some radishes. There were beets in here too, but there's still some friends left in here. To be honest, I've had no success growing radishes or beets. I direct sowed all of them, kind of in the same method that I did with the lettuce over there. No luck. It wasn't even because of spacing. I think the soil was just compacted and just not in good shape, lacking nutrients, so on and so forth. So I just let it go. I'm going to try again in the fall. It's not really the right time right now to be growing them, but I wanted to show you something. So word on the street is you can, if you let your radishes go to seed. Hold on, there's an ambulance passing by. Suburban living, and we're back. So word on the street is that if you let your radishes go to seed, what happens, besides the obvious of them growing flowers, is that they grow these little pods, which if you leave them on here and let them dry, they'll eventually turn into radish seeds. That's my understanding. However, I have also come to learn that you can eat these. That if you take them at this stage, basically when they're nice and lush and green, you can actually eat those, fry them or eat them raw or whatever, and they're supposed to taste like radish. And I will tell you, I tried two from two different stalks, and they do taste like radish. One of them was super spicy, like it was like a radish with the volume turned up all the way. And one of them was very mild, so I guess it depends on the variety. I don't know which one was which because they all look the same at this stage. I mean, obviously they don't have any bulbs, but it's really cool that if you make a mistake in your garden, you can still get something. I mean, I wouldn't purposely do this, but the fact that you can eat something that you got because you made a mistake, it's kind of cool. So just wanted to share that little tidbit. Oh geez, something just flew out of the, I'm pretty sure it was a cicada. I don't know why those are so terrifying to me. I think it's the element of surprise. But anyway, here's the last little part of my main garden. I'm gonna show you the shameful stuff first just so we can end on a high note. This is my cauliflower of shame. It's starting to form a head, which is beyond belief to me. I can't even believe that this thing has managed to survive since literally November, and I've done nothing to it. And the reason why it's all tore up is because of those white moths that fly around. What they do is they lay eggs, and then their little babies hatch from the eggs and tear up your plant. And honestly, once that started happening, there was no way I was going to get it under control because there's way too many of those white moths. So I just kind of left it, and it's been kind of a trap plant for whatever bad insects. So I'm not mad that it's here. It's unfortunate, and I guess we'll see what happens with that little head that's forming. But I mean, this cauliflower saved my other plants, so it's a hero. This bag is empty, but I just want you to see what kind of cicada issues we were dealing with. I mean, when I say there were millions, I'm not even kidding. This is a second year raspberry. Guys, I don't know anything about raspberries. I know a little some, but not enough to really be a pro in any way, shape, or form. So, I'm gonna eventually need some help with these, but it's fruiting, as you can see. We are getting some fruit. We have picked probably like a pint off of this. It's just one plant, so it's pretty exciting. I'll get into the raspberry stuff another time, but this is not its permanent home. This was kind of an emergency pot that, that I put it in, so, but it overwintered here, and now it's giving us fruit. So let's move on to this trellis here. Here we have silver slicer cucumber, which is just now starting to take off and wrap its little tendrils around the wire, around the trellis. We do have some blossoms in there, so that's really exciting. I can't wait to get cucumbers. In this bag, I'm fairly certain this is, it's almost about to reach, lemon cucumber. So little cucumbers that are kind of yellowy. I have been trying to grow the Armenian yard-long cucumbers. I started them from seed. They looked fantastic. I transplanted them twice. They died every time. So I put a seed directly, actually I put a couple seeds directly into the soil. No luck. Finally gave up, planted this one instead. And then I said, you know what? I'm not giving up on you, Armenian yard-long. We're going to make this happen. So I put another seed in. And I said, if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And there she is. She's popping up. So that's very exciting. I hope it manages because I really want to try it. And over here, last but not least, hasn't sent off tendrils yet, but you can see that it's starting to grow a little baby tendril. This is a tromponcino squash. So it's a vining squash. It looks like a trombone basically. You can let all of these plants roam on the ground if you really wanted to. Frankly, I wouldn't do that just because of disease and pests and ease of harvest. You know, it's just easier to harvest something when it's all the way up here than when it's rambling on the ground. Okay, there's bugs everywhere because this tree was like the cicada magnet, and low-key I'm just trying to get out of here because I don't know what's gonna plop on my back. So yeah, this is the tromponcino. These I direct sowed all of these, so they're doing pretty good. I don't know the exact date. If I remember to look it up, I'll put it on the screen, but these are our little friends here. So that's basically it, guys. I mean, there's some other stuff here and there. My little garden jungle here. There's some other stuff around, like I have a strawberry plant, some herbs and catnip and stuff like that, which perhaps I'll show you another time. But this is my garden. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.